Jack Moore stood by the edge of his cornfield at dawn, the cool air hanging low over the stalks. The farm felt quiet, as if it held its breath. He looked toward the hill where the mist lay thick. He heard a soft sound like a sigh or a whisper. He frowned and stepped closer to the trees that bordered the field. Claire Moore was already awake in the kitchen. She had laid out bread and cheese on a wooden table and poured hot tea into 2 mugs. She sat down and watched the sunrise through. The window, the sky was pale orange and pink. She thought of the day ahead, chores, and more chores. But today felt different. She sensed something waiting. Jack pushed aside a low branch and found a small clearing. There, lying on the ground, was a child. He looked no more than 6 or 7, with strange pale blue skin and gentle violet eyes that opened slowly. The child wore a simple shirt and torn pants. His skin looked bruised and tired. Around his neck hung a silver pendant carved with swirling symbols Jack did not recognize. "Hey there," Jack said softly, kneeling in front of the child. "Are you all right?" The child blinked and tried to speak, but only a soft whimper came out. Jack gently lifted him into his arms despite the stranger's weight and cold skin. He stood and called out softly, "Claire, come quick." "A moment." Later, Claire reached him, her face full of concern. She crouched beside Jack and the child. Her eyes widened at the sight of the unusual skin color and glowing eyes. "Where did you find him?" she asked. Jack pointed toward the misty hill. "Is he hurt?" Claire pressed her hand to his forehead. It was warm but not burning. She saw bruises along his arms and dirt on his clothes. She wrapped a blanket around him and stood. "We need to bring him home," she said. Jack nodded. He climbed back through the trees, holding the child close. The pale light of morning touched their path. Back at the farmhouse, Jack laid the child on an old couch in their living room. Claire ran warm water and found clean cloths. She dipped a cloth in water and gently cleaned the child's face. He shivered and hissed, his violet eyes searching their faces. Jack poured more tea and brought it to Claire. She held the mug near the child's lips. He drank slowly, his hands trembling. Claire realized he understood kindness even if he could not speak their language. They spoke quietly in their kitchen. Jack said, "He can't be from around here. He's not from this world." Claire's eyes filled with wonder. "Then who is he?" she asked. Jack shook his head. "I don't know. But he needs us now." Hours passed. Claire prepared simple soup and fed the child with a spoon. He ate slowly, as if tasting food for the first time. He finished the bowl and licked the last drop. Claire smiled gently. The child looked at her and whispered a word that sounded like Laya. Claire thought it might be part of his name. Jack searched the attic and found a small bed with clean linen. He placed the bed near the stove so the child would stay warm. He left fresh clothes and a blanket. Then he covered the pendant symbols with a soft cloth. It felt too important to leave in the open. As the sun climbed high, the child slept. Claire and Jack found themselves in a quiet moment. Claire brushed her hair back and sighed. "I never thought the quiet life would bring me here," she said. Jack put an arm around her. "I know," he said, "but maybe it's not so quiet anymore." Later that afternoon, the child woke. Jack and Claire watched as he stood unsteadily. He reached for the pendant. Jack gently nudged him aside. The child looked at him with trust and pain. "I'll help you," Claire said softly. She untied the cloth and peered at the symbols. They glowed faintly in the dim light. Claire had never seen such shapes. They looked both ancient and alive, as if they held thought. Jack found paper and pencil. He drew the symbols and tried to copy them. The child watched. Then he touched the drawing with his finger. The lines on paper glowed and moved like water. Jack jumped back, startled. "You did that," Jack whispered. The child nodded slowly. He pointed at his chest and whispered, Liam. Claire's eyes filled with tears. "You are safe here, Liam," she said. "How did you get here?" But Liam looked confused. He shook his head and closed his eyes. Jack and Claire sat by his side as dusk painted the sky in red and purple. The farm was quiet again, but something had changed. In their small living room, a human family had grown by one. They had no idea who the child truly was or how much his arrival would transform their lives. But they knew they would stand by him, whatever came next. As night fell, they watched Liam sleep. Claire prayed for his safety. Jack listened for any sound beyond the farmhouse walls. In the shadows, the pendant symbols pulsed softly, as if waiting for a moment long promised. Morning light filtered through the curtains as Liam woke before Jack and Claire. He sat up on the small bed in the attic room. The soft linen smelled of earth and rain. He touched his forehead where Claire had cleaned his bruises. There was no pain now. He felt different, but did not understand why. Downstairs, Claire was in the kitchen preparing breakfast. She hummed quietly, unaware of Liam's restless eyes watching from above. She placed fresh eggs and toast on the table. The farm had simple food, but it tasted warm and honest. Jack walked in, stretching. He noticed the empty chair at the table. "Liam," he called softly. Liam climbed the narrow stairs. He moved carefully, like a child learning to walk. His eyes took in the wooden beams and the old photographs on the walls. One photo showed Jack and Claire on their wedding day. Another showed their sunbed years ago. Liam paused by the photos, but he did not reach out. Jack offered his hand. "He wants to stay here for a moment," Claire said, pointing upward. Jack nodded and sat down. They waited. Finally, Liam hesitated and joined them. He sat at the end of the table, his pale hands folded in his lap. "Try the eggs, Liam," Claire said. She put a piece on his plate. He looked at it, then at Jack. And Claire. He slowly reached with his fingers. He thought of the warmth of the pan, the crackle of the shell in his hand. He brought the egg to his lips and bit it. His eyes widened. "The taste was rich? More?" Jack asked. Liam nodded and ate in small bites. Jack and Claire watched with smiles. It was like seeing their own child learn something new. Later, Claire took Liam outside. She led him to a patch of sunflowers by the fence. The tall flowers nodded in the breeze. Claire knelt beside Liam and showed him how to gently rub a leaf between his fingers. She spoke softly, telling him about each plant. Liam touched the leaves. His eyes glowed faintly. He felt energy flow from the earth up his arms. The sunflowers turned toward him, their petals brightening. Claire gasped. "Jack, come see," she called. Jack ran over. He saw Liam's hand hovering above the center of a flower. It glowed with a soft pale light. The flower stem straightened, leaves unrolling with new strength. He reached out and placed his hand beside Liam's. Together, they watched life bloom. "I'm so surprised," Claire whispered. Liam looked at them, his violet eyes full of wonder. "Do you feel it?" Jack asked. Liam nodded. He closed his eyes. The world became still. He sensed the farm's heartbeat, the water flowing through the pipes, the wind in the trees, the birds in the sky. He felt warmth from Claire and Jack. When he opened his eyes, the flower petals shone brighter. He smiled, but the moment faded. The petals returned to normal color. Liam's eyes dimmed with a hint of sadness. That night, Claire studied the pendant. She held it close to the lamplight. The symbols looked familiar, yet alien. She traced the carvings with her finger. Suddenly, the metal warmed. A pulse ran through her hand. She dropped it in surprise. The pendant glowed for a second, then was still. Jack sat beside her. "That thing is more than a trinket," he said. Claire nodded. "We must learn what it means and how it connects to Liam." In the attic, Liam woke and went outside the window. He climbed down the old oak tree slowly. He walked into the moonlit yard and knelt by a patch of grass. He touched the ground lightly. Green sprouts burst from the earth around his fingers, curling up like tiny vines. He pulled back in surprise. The sprouts vanished, leaving bare dirt. Jack and Claire heard a soft noise. They rushed out and found Liam cradling his hand. Claire hugged him. "That was beautiful," she said, though her voice trembled. Liam looked at his hand, then at the sky. He whispered a word in his own tongue. It sounded like a prayer. Jack held Liam's small body close. "You're safe with us," he said. Liam snuggled into Jack's chest. His skin glowed faintly in the moonlight. Jack wondered if the glow came from inside Liam or from the pendant hidden beneath his shirt. Inside the house, Claire wrote in a Notebook, she sketched the flower, the sprouts, and the pendant symbols. She made note of Liam's powers. She hoped someone could explain these mysteries. Outside, the night was calm, but something watched from beyond the farm's fence line. Red eyes gleamed in the dark. A low hum filled the air. The watcher moved backward into the shadows, unseen by Jack, Claire, and Liam. As dawn approached, Liam lay back on the attic bed. Jack sat beside him until he slept. Claire joined them with mugs of tea. She placed one in Jack's hand and one on the bedside table. "I wish I knew who he is," Claire said. Jack sighed. "And where he came from." They held each other's hands. The farm was no longer just a home. It was a place of mystery and wonder. And at its heart lay a child whose origin was more vast than the stars. The wind blew softly across the farm fields, carrying the scent of grass and earth. Jack Moore sat by the kitchen table, staring at the pendant's glowing symbols. Claire paced the room, worry on her face. Liam slept in the attic, safe for now. Suddenly the door creaked. Jack looked up. Claire froze. A figure stood in the doorway. The stranger wore a long cloak that hid most of her body. Her face was pale in the moonlight that shone through the window. "How did you find us?" Jack asked softly. He stood and moved toward her. The stranger lowered her hood. Her hair was silver and cut short. Her eyes were clear and blue. She looked at Jack and Claire with calm focus. "I am Diana," she said. Her voice was gentle but firm. "I come from the order of scholars who guard the history of the old empire." She spoke with a slight accent, strange and musical. Claire stepped forward. "What order? Why should we trust you?" Diana placed her hands on the table. The pendant lay between them. It glowed faintly. "Your son Liam is more than a child. He is the last heir of a great empire that fell centuries ago." She paused and let her words sink in. The empire was known for peace and knowledge, but greed and fear led to its ruin. Many of us escaped, keeping its secrets safe. Jack frowned. "You mean Liam is from another world?" Diana nodded. She opened her cloak and revealed a small, ancient book. Its cover matched the pendant's symbols. This book records the family of the lost emperor. It names Liam as his grandson. The pendant is a mark of his line. It chose him. Claire reached for the pendant. Diana held up her hand. "Not yet," Diana said. "You both must understand the danger. Many seek the heir. They will come to take him and use his power for war." She closed her eyes and concentrated. "Even now, they are searching beyond your fence." There was a sound of metal sliding nearby. Jack grabbed a lantern and moved toward the back door. Claire followed, trembling. Diana stayed in the kitchen. Silent and watchful, Jack and Claire stepped into the moonlit yard. The fence cast long shadows across the field. They heard a low hum, like distant engines. Suddenly, red lights flashed near the tree line. Jack shouted, "Claire, get inside." "Now!" He pulled her toward the house. Diana ran out to meet them. She held a metal rod. When she touched it, the rod glowed with runes and light. "All of you must come with me," she said. "It's not safe here." Inside, Claire scooped up Liam from the attic bed. He stirred and opened his eyes. They were frightened, but he did not speak. Claire hugged him. Jack grabbed a satchel and threw in clothes and water. Claire dropped the book and pendant into the bag. She held it tight to her chest. Diana led them out a hidden trapdoor beneath the floor. A narrow tunnel sloped down into darkness. "Follow closely," Diana whispered. Jack held the lantern. Claire held Liam. They descended into the earth. The walls were rough stone, carved with symbols. The symbols matched those on the pendant and book. "This path leads to the old shrine of the empire," Diana said. Her voice echoed, "There we will be safe for a time." The tunnel turned and dipped. Water dripped from the ceiling. Liam drifted off to sleep in Claire's arms. Jack wiped sweat from his brow. "I never thought my life would be like this," he muttered. Claire squeezed his arm. "I know, but we must protect him." Diana paused at a stone door carved with the empire's crest. She placed her hand on a panel. The door slid open with a rumble. Inside was a small chamber, lit by glowing crystals. The walls were lined with shelves of scrolls and books. In the center stood a stone dais. "This is a place of memory," Diana said. "The scholars hid it long ago. We used this to study and to teach the Emperor's heirs." Jack set down the lantern. Claire sat on a bench and held Liam. Diana placed the book on the dais. The crystals glowed brighter. "You both need rest," Diana said. "I will stay awake and watch the entrance." She gestured to the door. Jack and Claire sat. Liam slept quietly. The chamber was cool and still except for the soft glow. Claire looked at the pendant. She brushed her fingers over its carvings. "I want to know about his world," she said. "How did he come here?" Diana looked at her with sad eyes. The Empire was torn by war. Many children were sent away for safety. The heir was sent alone. A vessel carried him until his path crossed yours. She closed her eyes. "It must have been hard for him," Claire whispered. "He survived alone with no home," Diana said. "That takes courage." Jack covered Liam with a blanket. "I promised to protect him," Diana nodded. "Tomorrow we will learn more. But for now, rest is best." Outside, the darkness pressed against the hidden door. Distant lights from the search parties glowed red and green. But inside the chamber, the air was calm. Claire closed her eyes. Jack sighed and leaned against the wall. Liam slept on her lap. Diana stood at the door, watching the shadows. She whispered a silent prayer to the lost empire's memory. In the heart of the earth, a family huddled together. They did not know what the morning would bring, but they knew they were not alone. Jack Moore peeked through a crack in the stone door. The hidden chamber was quiet except for Liam's soft breathing. Claire sat on the bench, holding their son close. Diana stood at the far end, her cloak wrapped tight. Outside, faint sounds of metal scraping and low voices drifted in. Jack tapped Claire on the shoulder. Claire's eyes widened. She pressed her finger to her lips. Jack nodded and moved back from the door. He studied the ancient carving. He found a small panel and pressed it. A hidden latch clicked. Jack hoped it did not alert their enemies. Moments later, the stone door slid open just enough for a narrow beam of moonlight. Two figures appeared in the gap. They wore dark suits that covered their bodies. Their helmets reflected the glowing crystals inside. They spoke in harsh tones. Claire heard the word that sounded like Liam's name. Diana raised a hand and whispered a word. The crystals flickered. A soft barrier of light formed at the end of the tunnel behind them. Jack and Claire slid outside the chamber. Diana joined them. They held Liam tight. Jack pointed to a side corridor. Diana nodded and led the way. They moved quietly, careful of every step. The corridor turned left, then right. Each turn was marked with faded symbols. Claire glanced at a symbol and gasped. It matched the one on Liam's pendant. Liam woke and rubbed his eyes. Claire whispered, "Liam, we must be very quiet. Enemies are near." Liam nodded slowly and rested his head on Claire's shoulder. Jack handed Claire his lantern. The glow was dim but enough to see. Diana paused at another door. She placed her hand on a small emblem. The door opened into a larger room with narrow windows high above. Beyond the windows, Jack could see strange shapes moving in the night sky. Bright lights glinted on metal surfaces. "They are searching the farm," Jack said. He watched as two winged ships circled low over the fields. Alien soldiers stood on open platforms. They scanned the ground with glowing rods. Claire hugged Liam tighter. "What will they do if they find him?" she whispered. Dinah's face darkened. "They will take him," Diana said. "They will force him to reveal his power. They will use him to overthrow worlds." She closed her eyes for a moment. Jack set his jaw. "I will not let that happen," he said softly. Claire gave him a small smile. Liam looked up at them, his violet eyes wide. Diana led them to a hidden hatch beneath the floor. She pulled aside a loose stone. The hatch opened into a narrow shaft. "This leads outside," she said. "Follow me." Jack climbed down first, then Claire with Liam. The shaft smelled of earth and moss. Water dripped from the stone. Jack's boots made soft echoes. At the bottom, they found a small tunnel that led to the edge of the farm. When they emerged, The night was cold and still. The grass was wet with dew. Jack pointed to a row of trees. The barn is that way. We can hide past it. Claire followed, stepping carefully to avoid making noise. They reached the barn. Claire opened the door slowly. Inside were old tools and bales of hay. They moved the hay aside and slipped into a hidden room behind loose boards. Diana closed the boards and braced them. Jack pressed against the wood. He heard a loud thud. A soldier's boot hit the barn door. Claire held Liam's hand as he clung to her side. "They are searching every building," Diana whispered. Jack felt Liam tremble. He knelt and whispered to Liam, "We're safe here for now. Daddy is right outside." Liam nodded and hid his face in Claire's coat. Jack listened. He heard footsteps draw closer. Two voices spoke softly. "This must be the place," one voice said. "They said the heir might be hidden here." Jack gripped his lantern. He could not stand idly. He rose slowly and pressed his face against the boards. He could see the soldiers shaking the door frame. Diana placed a finger to her lips. Jack stepped back. He felt panic in his chest. Then he remembered the pendant. It was safe in Claire's bag. He wished he had it now. Outside the barn, the soldiers grew more agitated. They increased their force on the door. Claire held Liam tight. "Diana, can you help?" Jack whispered. Diana nodded. She placed her hand on the boards and spoke a soft chant. The room behind the boards plunged into darkness. The soldiers outside cried out. Jack seized the moment. He ran to the door and kicked it open. The soldiers stumbled backward. Moonlight flooded the barn. Claire and Liam rushed out behind him. Diana followed, her cloak swirling. Jack led them. Around the barn's side, Claire held Liam close. They reached a tractor under an old tarp. Diana touched the machine. It glowed with runes. The engine roared to life. Jack jumped in the driver's seat. Claire and Liam climbed in the back. He pressed a lever. The tractor moved slowly forward. The soldiers fired beams of light. The beams hit the soil and scattered dust. Jack drove toward the far edge of the farm. Sensors on the tractor sent out pulses that scrambled the soldiers' scanners. They yelled in frustration. They crossed the field. The ships above shone their searchlights. The tractor moved into the forest just as soldiers ran toward them. Trees flew past. Claire shielded Liam from low branches. Diana pressed a button on the dashboard. A shield of light formed around the tractor. Branches broke harmlessly. Against it. After a tense ride, they reached a clearing. Diana spoke to Jack. "The hidden sanctuary lies ahead. It is safe for now." She pointed deeper into the woods. Jack nodded and steered toward the darkness. Claire held Liam, whispering words of comfort. Diana watched the sky, ready for any threat. The night air was cool and calm as they disappeared into the forest. Behind them, the farm lights flickered, then died. The enemy was left behind, but the danger was far from over. Together they drove on toward a refuge built by an empire long lost. Dawnlight seeped through tall trees as the tractor ground to a halt in a small clearing. Jack Moore killed the engine and climbed down. Claire unbuckled Liam and held him close. The forest was quiet, save for birdsong and rustling leaves. Diana stepped out, her cloak brushing the grass. Jack scanned the trees. He spotted carved markers pointing down a narrow path. Each marker bore the same symbol that adorned Liam's pendant. He pointed and said, "This way." Claire nodded, gripping Liam's hand. Diana led the group along the path. Roots twisted underfoot and ferns brushed their legs. Jack carried supplies from the tractor: water, simple food, blankets. Claire carried the ancient book and the pendant in ASATCHEL. The deeper they went, the taller the trees grew. Sunlight filtered through leaves high above, painting the ground in patches of green and gold. Liam walked beside Claire, eyeing the forest with wonder. His pale blue skin glowed softly in the dappled light. "Be careful," Claire said. "The ground may be uneven." Liam nodded and watched his step. After an hour of walking, they reached a stone arch. Vines curled around its sides. Carved symbols lined the arch, glowing faintly. Diana approached and placed her hand on the stone. The cymbals pulsed and a low hum echoed. Jack and Claire held Liam back. The arch opened into a wide valley. A river wound through, and beyond it lay ancient ruins overgrown with moss. Tall pillars and broken walls rose like ghosts from the earth. Jack's breath caught. "This place is incredible," he whispered. Claire squeezed his arm and motioned to the ruins. "That must be the sanctuary." She gestured across the river. Diana nodded. "The Empire built this to store knowledge and protect its heirs. Few know its secrets now." Jack scanned the ruins. He saw paths between collapsed stones. A broken bridge spanned the river, leading to a hill at the center. On top stood a circular platform. "That platform," Diana said. "It marks the heart of the sanctuary. Place the pendant there, and its power will awaken the protections." Jack shifted his gaze to Liam. Liam held the pendant close. He looked nervous. "Liam's scared," Liam whispered. Claire knelt beside him. "You are brave, Liam. We are with you." She brushed his hair back. Liam nodded and stepped forward. Jack led Liam across the broken bridge. Claire and Diana followed. The wood planks were worn, but strong. Halfway across, a plank snapped. Jack steadied Liam and guided him forward. Liam held Jack's hand tightly. On the far side, they entered the ruins. Moss-covered tall walls. Ferns sprouted from cracks. Birds nested in empty windows. Sunlight broke through gaps above. They walked toward the hill. Steps carved into stone led up. Each step bore a symbol of the Empire. Liam climbed carefully. Jack stayed close, ready to catch him if he stumbled. At the top, the circular platform lay. It was carved from white stone and edged with gold. At its center was an indentation shaped like the pendant. Jack and Claire set aside their supplies. Liam placed the pendant in the slot. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground trembled softly. Light poured from the platform's edge. Spreading in a circle, vines and plants bent away as a dome of energy rose. Above it, the sky looked clear and bright. Diana took a deep breath. "The sanctuary is waking. Inside, we will find rooms of knowledge, places of rest, and defenses to protect us." Jack smiled. "That is good." Claire held Liam's hand. "You did it, Liam. You chose to awaken your home." Liam's violet eyes shone. He felt warmth and safety. The energy dome faded, leaving the ruins untouched but protected. Diana led them through a hidden entrance in a broken wall. Inside was a vast hall lined with shelves of scrolls and metal shelves of books. Lanterns hung from the ceiling. Doc lit one lantern with a match. The glow revealed carved walls, telling stories of Liam's ancestors. Claire touched a carving of a smiling child who looked like Liam. Diana spoke softly. "This is the Hall of Memory. It holds our history. You both must study and choose what knowledge to share." Jack looked at the towers of texts. "This can help us protect Liam," Claire nodded, "and help us learn his world." She opened a book and read the title, Legends of the Blue Planet. She smiled and read a line aloud. "The Heir shall unite worlds." Liam's face lit with hope. Diana led them to another door. She whispered a word and the door glowed. It opened to a small room. Inside were beds, fresh blankets, and simple furnishings. A soft bed lay for Liam. Jack and Claire found 2 chairs. Claire breathed in. "Home," she said. Liam yawned. "I am tired," he whispered. Jack smiled and said, "Sleep now, and tomorrow we learn more." Liam climbed into bed. Claire tucked him in. Jack sat in one chair, Diana in the other. Claire placed the ancient book on a table. Diana said, "This sanctuary will grow stronger as Liam learns its ways. He must train to control his power." Jack nodded. "And I will teach him what it means to be human." Claire reached out and held Jack's hand. "Together, we will guide him." The hall was quiet. Outside, birds settled above the dome. Inside, a new family found rest. Liam slept, safe at last in the valley of his ancestors. Tomorrow would bring lessons, challenges, and hope. For now, they would remember the journey that led them here and the promise of a new beginning. The dawn broke with soft light through tall trees. Jack Moore parked the tractor at a small clearing where the forest opened onto rolling hills. Claire held Liam close in the back. Diana stepped down and brushed soil from her cloak. The sanctuary valley lay before them, calm and green. Jack climbed down and opened the back. Claire lifted Liam out. He stretched and looked around with wide violet eyes. The ruins and river glowed in morning light. "This is it," Diana said. "Welcome home, Liam." Liam stepped forward slowly. His small feet sank into the soft grass. He looked at Jack and Claire. "I want to see everything," he whispered. Claire smiled. "Then let's begin." She held his hand, and they walked together toward the ruins. The valley was vast. Wildflowers dotted the ground, birds sang in the trees, animals watched from shadows. Jack led the way to the Hall of Memory. Inside, lanterns hung, now shining with a soft glow. Diana opened a book and laid it on a table. Claire and Jack stood beside Liam as Diana read aloud. The words spoke of peace and unity, the Empire's core ideals. He must learn these truths. Diana sighed. "Only then can he guide others." Jack nodded. "And we will help him." In the next chamber, Jack found tools and simple devices left by the scholars. He showed Liam a device that measured energy. Liam touched it, and the needle jumped. His eyes glowed with excitement. "I can do it again," he said softly. Claire knelt beside him. "Take your time," she said. "We are here." Liam placed his hand on the device. It pulsed and held steady. Jack let out a breath. "Good," Diana said. "You learn quickly?" They spent the morning exploring rooms filled with plants and animals preserved for study. Liam learned how to heal a wilted flower. He closed his eyes and focused. The plant straightened and bloomed again. Jack and Claire watched in awe. Claire brushed a tear from her cheek. "You have a gift," she said. Liam smiled shyly. "I want to help." After lunch, Diana led them to the training grounds. A clearing with soft ground and simple obstacles. She handed Liam a wooden staff. "You must learn to protect yourself," she said. "Practice control." Liam held the staff awkwardly. Diana demonstrated a stance. Liam copied her, stiff at first. Then he moved with more confidence. He spun and struck the air. "Well done," Diana said. She bowed. Liam bowed back, grinning. Jack patted Liam's shoulder. "You did great." Claire hugged his other side. "Our son, the scholar," she whispered. They spent the afternoon training and studying. Jack and Claire learned the Empire's history. Liam learned to focus his power without fear. As evening fell, Diana guided them to the circular platform once more. The sky was clear, stars bright above. She placed a hand on the pendant slot. "Read the oath," she said. Jack read from the book. "As heir of peace and justice, I vow to protect life, to learn from all, and to unite worlds in friendship." Diana and Claire joined in, Liam at the center. His voice was soft but steady. "Together, we vow." At that moment, the pendant glowed and a gentle light spread across the valley. The dome of protection shimmered under the stars. Liam looked at Jack and Claire. "I will be strong." Jack knelt before him. "You already are, son." Claire touched their joined hands. "Together always," Diana smiled. "The Empire's hope lives again?" They sat on the platform looking at the stars. Liam leaned between Jack and Claire. The night air was cool. The valley was silent except for their breathing. "I remember home," Liam whispered. Jack kissed his forehead. "Home is here now." Claire rested her head on Jack's shoulder. "We will build a new life, together. Under the stars, a family and a promise were born. The lost empire had a child who would unite worlds. And on a small farm on Earth, the Moors had found their greatest adventure. And so began the new age of peace, guided by a boy who belonged to both Earth and the stars.